verse 191. Emptiness unborn is one thing, emptiness born is another. Emptiness unborn is the better, because emptiness born leads to destruction. In the previous verse, existence was characterized as birth, cessation and destruction. And in this verse there's talk of birth and destruction. But we've got this important term, emptiness, which in English isn't a particularly inspiring term. In fact, in the previous video I was talking about it in quite an unappealing way. How we often have this sense of not being fulfilled. There's a sense of lack, a sense of emptiness inside, which we're constantly trying to fill. We're constantly trying to fill by directing our attention out into this world, to find things, to find people, to find circumstances in it which will allow us to feel fulfilled. So that's one sense of emptiness, this sense of lack. But emptiness also promises freedom. It promises freedom from this addiction that we have, this addiction to conventional reality, this addiction to the promise, the apparent promise of conventional reality, that we're somehow going to find ultimate fulfillment, even though it's obvious we're going to die at some point and might even get quite seriously ill or have an accident long before then. But we ignore that because, we're addicts. We're not looking at the downsides, we're just looking at what we can get. We're looking for our next fix. But what emptiness is telling us is there's no solution out there. There is no solution in this reality for that feeling of lack. There is no ultimate fix out there. So let's dissolve all the promise like that, all the promise that we are enticed to believe in. And that might sound a bit scary. Where are you going to get your next fix from? If you can't get it out there, where are you going to get it? Well, the thing is, it's that reality out there, that so-called reality, which is causing the addiction. And if it goes, the addiction goes with it. We can let it all go. We can let it all go. We don't have to get anything. We don't have to prove anything. We can wake up from it, just as we wake up from a dream. This is what emptiness is. Emptiness is realizing that on a fundamental level, there is no ultimate fix out there. So let's see what this verse says about emptiness. Emptiness unborn is one thing, emptiness born is another. So the emptiness unborn is one thing. That's the realization of the empty promise of the world. That's the freedom of that relationship. Emptiness in this sense is the freedom that this realization bestows. It's the calm and the contentment, the stillness and the simplicity that this realization that there's nothing out there for me bestows. Emptiness born is another. And this is emptiness in the sense that I was talking about previously. This is the emptiness that's looking for something. This is the emptiness which is looking for fulfillment, which is looking for something to fill itself with. It's a never-ending task. It can only result in gluttony and disappointment. Emptiness unborn is the better, because emptiness born leads to destruction. So when we get caught up in notions that things are coming into being, that there are events which we can encourage, events which we can avoid, when we get into all that, then eventually we're buying into disappointment, because everything comes to an end. Even if you have the happiest of lives, it comes to an end. Even if you have wonderful love in your life, it comes to an end. Because everything leads to destruction. The emptiness that's unborn, the emptiness that is free in itself, can never disappoint. It's bigger than your own life. It's bigger than your own birth and death. It's rich. It's full. And the word that came to me recently that describes it is pungent. Pungent. And that's probably worth exploring a little bit. But again, it comes down to this sense of being, which is rich in itself. It's pungent in the sense that it's tasty, it's attractive, it's heady. And this is in comparison to anything that we might chase out there. So this is emptiness unborn, which is much better than emptiness which is born. Verse 192 says, Suchness, emptiness, the limit, Nirvana, and the Dharmadhatu, the various will-made bodies, these I point out as synonymous. So here, emptiness is put into a particular context. They're all words which in some way can be described as the absolute. But I'm going to look at this list in reverse order, starting from the various will-made bodies. The will-made body is the intention of the enlightenment practitioner, the enlightenment practitioner being one who's touched the truth and is now working to become established in it. This is the will-made body, the will to enlightenment, the will to enlightenment practice. It's moving towards this sphere of truth, inhabiting this sphere of truth. This is the Dharmadhatu. So the enlightenment practitioner is investing in the external world less and less, and investing in this sphere of truth more and more. That's the intention, that's the will. The will is to abide in realization more and more. This is Nirvana. This is the ultimate, the limit. This is the bottom line. There's nothing beyond this. This becomes apparent when you realize it. There can be nothing beyond this, because this is pure awareness. Everything rests in awareness. Everything depends on awareness. Without awareness, there is nothing. There can be no without awareness. Next on the list is emptiness. In emptiness, there's this great purity. It's emptiness which is apparent in the promise of all notions, of all notional promise. We see the apparent promise of conventional reality, but we see right through it. It's only apparent promise, there's nothing there. It's empty. So we come to rest in our own sense of being, and this is suchness. The first or the last item in the list. These are all the same. These I point out as synonymous. It's enlightenment practice, once again, that's being described here. We can rest in the pungency of our own being. We can derive fulfillment from that. Emptiness has its own sense of fullness. And this is suchness.